All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We are just waiting for a few more participants to join, and we will get started in just a second. But thank you so much for being here, and just hold tight, and we'll get started very soon. Thanks again for joining, everyone. We'll get started in just a second. Just waiting for a few more folks to join. Thank you so much for being here.
Muchas gracias a todos. Vamos a empezar momentáneamente. Gracias por estar.
All right, we will jump in and get started. My name is Frank Coyne, and I am your host for this evening, and I'm excited you're here. Before we actually get started, though, I want to be sure to invite everyone to choose your language preference for this evening. So there should be a global icon appearing on the bottom of your Zoom screen, and everyone needs to look at that and click on it and choose your language of choice, your language preference for this evening. And if you're on a cell phone or other mobile device, you may have to click on the three dots or the ellipsis and expand that and then be able to choose your language. I don't see it on mine. Can everyone still hear me? Yeah? Okay, great. All right. And Alejandro, you're good to go on your channel? Great. All right, now that we're all on our correct language choice for the evening, we will get started. So again, my name is Frank Coyne, and I am one of the proud founders and lead partners at the Denver Green School. And we were one of the first innovation schools in the state of Colorado. I am extremely proud to be your MC tonight. And that is in large part because I've been in my job for 13 years. And I'm proud to be a school leader at DGS, an innovation school where we've crafted a unique school model that meets the needs of our diverse students and families. Next, I want to share some gratitude. I want to say thanks to our Board of Education directors who are here with us tonight, giving us your time and energy to be able to listen to the stories of our wonderful teachers, leaders, and families who are representing Denver's innovation schools. I want to thank all of our participants tonight. It looks like we're several hundred deep at this point and growing. Thanks for being here to learn about innovation schools and how they're an essential part of the fabric of DPS in our great city. But before we begin and hear from our panelists and our teachers and leaders, I want to be able to set the stage for a few minutes and frame why we're here tonight. We're here tonight to learn about innovation schools and why they matter in DPS. Innovation schools matter because innovation schools are unique. As you'll see on this slide here, these are our students in the DGS music room. And in our unique models, each innovation school has the flexibility to pursue their own things like calendar, professional development for teachers, our unique models that we each get to implement for our students, our staff, and our families. We're also able to do things a little bit differently when it comes to recruitment and hiring and all of the things that involve the professional implementation of what we do in our schools. Innovation schools matter because over 24,000 students attended Denver in a DPS Innovation School. That is 1/4 of all DPS students and 1/4 of all DPS schools. Innovation schools matter because we represent the whole city of Denver. If you look at this map here on this slide, you'll see the 52 innovation schools as they are geographically located throughout the city of Denver, located in every neighborhood and every community across the whole city, not just focused on one region or one neighborhood. In essence, this proves that we are all Team DPS. Innovation schools are also representative of the greater landscape of DPS. If you look at this bar graph here, you'll see the innovation schools are across the city, mirror the district managed schools when it comes to things like free and reduced lunch population, the students of color that we serve, are students who are on special education plans and are multilingual learners. So innovation schools represent the wide swath of who we are as a greater city of Denver. And what I want people to take away in looking at these slides is that we represent Denver both in our demographic information as well as our geographic information. We represent all that DPS is. Okay, now in my last slide here, I have some innovation fun facts to share with folks. Three that stand out to me as most important to share with you tonight is that innovation plans are created and approved by our school communities. All school staff, all bargaining units, including DCTA, and a school's collaborative school committee have to approve and vote for a majority in support of our innovation plans. That means that everybody gets to weigh in on that process, and we vote in majority to approve our innovation plan. One other fun fact I think worth sharing is that when we waive out of a policy because we want to exercise some of our flexibility, that means that we are replacing it with something that we feel is going to be better for our school community. It does not mean that we simply get to ignore original DPS policy or any other policies. We have to show that we're going to do something different and better. One other fun fact I think is worth sharing is that retention rates for teachers in innovation schools are the same as they are for district managed schools. After the 2021 school year, roughly 79% of teachers were retained in innovation schools, and that is the same as it was across DPS. In fact, many innovation schools report teacher satisfaction and teacher empowerment that is higher than the district average. So the others I will let you read there on the slide, and I will start to get ready to introduce our speakers. But before I do, I just want to say that in listening tonight for our board partners and our community partners, I hope you can hear our leaders, our teachers, and our parents with an open mind. I ask you to embrace their authentic voices for what you're about to hear. This space was designed to share out from the many stakeholders across the innovation sector. And doing so tonight, we realize it's a little less interactive, but we also want to be sure we have all of our voices heard in the short time we have together. However, if you want to follow up, you can certainly contact myself, anyone on the Innovation Council, or any of your school leaders, and we'll be happy to do so. With that, I would like to introduce our first group of speakers, and kicking it off is Jen Anderson, the proud principal of Grant Beacon Middle School, and I will turn it over to Jen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Jennifer Anderson. Some of you know me as Jennifer Perea, and I'm the proud principal of Grant Beacon Middle School. If you've heard me in other presentations to the board, this will sound familiar. That's because it's what drives me in my everyday work. I have worked for this district for 13 years as a teacher, a senior team lead, and assistant principal, and now as a principal. I'm also a DPS kid, so go North High Vikings. And everyone who knows me knows that when I was a teacher, I was a DCTA union rep for 7 years. The woman I coined as my mother was the vice president of DCTA. I served as the board of Far Northeast directors for DCTA, and I ran for secretary of DCTA. I say all this to state very clearly that I'm not against DCTA, and I'm not against educators' rights, but I am, and I am in favor of innovation. These beliefs should not be at odds with one another. I am in favor of giving schools a chance to stop marginalizing and disenfranchising our students. I am in favor of critiquing the executive limitations, which asks us to standardize education when everything we know to be true says that our BIPOC students suffer the most when we fail to dismantle these historically oppressive structures. Innovation gives us the opportunity to critically think about these barriers and gives us a chance. I mean, we're not perfect, but it gives us a chance to try something different. These limitations are asking us to take a step backward. I think Sir Ken Robinson says it best when he says, the problem with current processes of educational reform is that we are trying to tackle the future by doing what we did in the past, and we are alienating millions of kids in the process. I know innovation at all levels. I was a teacher at an innovation school. I was a leader at an innovation school. And I was a leader at an innovation school who turned back into a DCTA school, a quote unquote DCTA school, or a school who lost their innovation status. And I can tell you firsthand, the waivers we lost helped to completely dismantle our programming and budget disempower our teachers, and is one of the reasons I left in search of a school that had the autonomy and innovation to make real change for our students. I have happily landed in the Beacon Network, which is part of an innovation zone. We have Grant Beacon and Kepner Beacon. The opportunities that innovation has given our zone has been astronomical, and all of our teachers enter the Beacon Network with transparency and ultimately decide to join our network, commit to our students and families, and adopt our mission and vision. The executive limitations would ultimately force us to reorganize our entire decision-making structure, would limit the amount of stipends we give to teaching and non-teaching staff, including paras and deans, would force us to dismantle our enrichment programming, which our students love, and would force us to lose our autonomy over our calendar, in which we strategically use our calendar to create interims, to create action plans for students, and to benefit our teachers by building in data teams, professional development, staff meetings, department meetings, etc. We use our autonomy to provide academies and in-house summer school to our students, and then the list goes on. I mean, quite frankly, I have spent the better part of a month defending why we are great, work that equates to many hours that could be focused on my school and my students, but instead I have taken time to show data that proves our students have phenomenal growth, showing data that proves how innovation turned our network from orange to green, and showing data that proves how we are looking at disaggregated data in order to close gaps. But in all honesty, I still have yet to hear how the data surrounding these executive limitations will benefit students. In addition, the process for introducing these executive limitations has been very confusing, not transparent, leaving people to question the intention or validity of the executive limitations and causing divide. I don't know how the executive limitations were allowed to proceed when the process has been so undemocratic, but what I do know is this: we as an innovation network do have a process that requires a vote from all of my staff, a process that includes hearing the voices of teachers, and a process that happens every 3 years. And I want to make it clear that I do believe in educator rights. My husband, William Anderson, was a teacher in this district for 14 years. My mother, a teacher in this district for 30 years, and myself, a teacher in the 7 out of the 13 years in this district. And although we have asked for waivers from certain aspects of policy and DCTA agreements, we have clear replacement policies that not only afford our teachers' rights, but ensures accountability so that our students ultimately benefit. I'll end by saying this: I am Team DPS, I am Team Teacher, I am Team Innovation, and I am Team Students.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sheldon Reynolds, just like Jennifer. I'm an innovation principal. I'm a product of DPS. Was a student on DPS, went to Knight Fundamental Academy. Smiley graduated from George. Was fortunate enough to be a teacher at McMean for my entire teacher career. Went to North Carolina, was fortunate enough to start a school out there, but was really called to come back home. And I took over a turnaround school. I took over a school that was on the verge of closing, Greenley Elementary. It actually closed on me, but I was sponsored to write a new school program, and we came up with the Center for Talent Development, which is essentially like gifted education for second language students, students of color, students that are living in poverty. I proudly say that I would have not been able to work with my school community and do the turnaround work that we did in any other district. The innovation practices that we had allowed that thing to happen. And from there, our school was pretty successful. I was able to take on a new role where I actually support school leaders. Most of them end up being leaders of color, but school leaders that are going through school turnaround as I still run my building. Again, these innovative practices allow me to support in that level. I've been a person that has been really vocal on this issue, not even around the teacher rights piece, just the whole process of how it's rolled out. But I'm not necessarily going to talk about my perspective. I more so want to have every panelist on there, whether you're a board member, whether you're an educator, whether you're a community member, whether you're a student. There's just a couple questions that I want you to ponder as food for thought. And the first one of those questions is, what issue is this executive limitation, this EL, trying to solve for? I am still left wondering what that is about. I'm left with questions of who really authored this, in the sense that there's really specific language. There are really specific items that were chosen to be a part of this executive limitation. I have questions of where that comes from. Why were these items chosen? No one has actually given me or I've yet to see any reason why these particular things were chosen. What tangible data source did it come from? When I hear the authors that speak of it, which would I assume the two board members or DCTA, I know that they back this proposal. I've yet to hear anybody give some data source, some real tangible number that says that there's an issue out there that needs to be addressed. It's just anecdotal stories, a one-off here or one-off there. There's nothing been presented. So I go back to that question of what issue is this really trying to solve for? The second question that I would like you to consider is, why was there a need to fast track the authorization of this EL? I'm left wondering why the board or board members would want to push this vote through so quickly when there was no community engagement with any single stakeholder. When this EL ran out, district officials had not had their eyes on it or had a chance to look at it. I serve on the Innovation Council. We were not spoken to about it. As a school leader, no one spoke to us about it. The educators, and I go beyond just my teachers, my deans, my paras, the 9 or however any bargaining groups that work in my school, no one spoke with them. No one spoke with community members. So if we're a district that values community input and transparency, why was this EL sent to be processed so quickly? We did not get the pause or the survey stuff that came out until after we started advocating. So this wasn't even a thought until we started fighting for that. Another question I hit you with is, why do we have 52 schools, innovation schools across Denver? We represent the diversity of Denver, and we are actually all speaking in unison that this EL is designed to dismantle innovation. We all have that feeling across the board. You could have schools that look like McCullough, look like Willow, C3, which can be white, considered to be white, mainly affluent. You could have schools like Beach Court, the Beacon Network, which serves mainly brown Hispanic students. You could have schools that look like mine, which you have a leader like me of a person of color, Renard, who's at DC 21, Kim, who's at DMLK. Leaders, Black leaders, I think Kim has the model for what Black educators should look like. We are all speaking from that same perspective. This is one time where we're actually speaking in unison. So how can we be misinformed, that many school leaders that deal with it day to day, about the level and the impact of what this EL has? And the last question that I just hit you with in closing is, I want you to consider, I want you to imagine something that is meaningful to you about DPS. Busing, the choice system, equity and diversity, start times, any one of those things. Now imagine that there was an executive limitation to dismantle that aspect. And I hit you with this question. As you picture that thing that you value the most about DPS, would you think that this process, regardless of where you stand on this executive limitation, do you think that this process represents the best of DPS? Do you think that this process, how it is ran out, really gets to the community-led aspect of what we hope our leadership model to be? Do you think this represents where we want our new leadership, the new direction of DPS to go? And if you answer no to any aspect of that, I ask you to consider, how can we move forward with this executive limitation if the process is ran out like that. So again, not really my perspective, just questions to consider. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sheldon, and thank you, Jen, for sharing your voices as school leaders. We appreciate you, and we're grateful for your time and your energy on this matter. Next, we're going to hear from parents across Innovation Schools, and we're first going to hear from Sarah Blanchard Frederick from Willow Elementary, and I will turn it over to Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, those were great questions and great points. My name is Sarah Blanchard Frederick. I'm a parent at Willow Elementary, and my husband, John, and I have been really, really happy with our children's innovation schools. And we're really confused by this change, and we don't want anything to change. But just to give you a sense from the parent perspective, I have three main reasons personally. One is that we uncovered a learning difference for my eldest daughter, who's now a middle schooler at a different innovation school. And Willow was incredible at establishing supports for her as we got her IEP in order. And it's really the waivers that Willow has that allows for this flexible scheduling to get it done, because this was happening as we were transitioning into virtual learning during the pandemic. So that was really, really meaningful to us. Personally, I'm a social justice advocate, and it's my work. And I'm incredibly grateful that the school also has curriculum waivers that have allowed for my daughter to come home from school having learned about the true history of Thanksgiving, having learned skills that allow her to engage in and develop critical thinking during her day. And then thirdly, just as important as the equity lens that the students undertake, I'm really, really grateful that our school has social emotional learning as a core part of the children's days. You know, I found my daughter on one particularly stressful evening using the tools that she learned from Riding the Waves, which is a curriculum led by the school's counselor and psychologist. You know, that sort of thing could have only happened because the school has flexible funding. And that has allowed for the school to select their staff, which has led to my kiddo having access to a counselor and a psychologist in the building. This funding also allows for the flexible learning schedule, which is 30 more minutes per day than the traditional schools. And so I know that they can make time for these sorts of interventions and skill building throughout the course of the day.
Hi there, my name's Amy Beltzer. I am the parent of 3 DPS students at Swigert International, McAuliffe International, and Denver School of the Arts. And then we'll have a Northfield Nighthawk next year. We have been in Denver Public Schools for 15 years, and our children's school experiences have been the #1 reason we've made Denver our home. And the perspective I'm going to take is just kind of what we have loved about the schools where we have been. And the reasons we love them are specific to them being innovation schools. The primary reason that we have loved Swigert, both Swigert and McAuliffe, is the teacher, staff, and student culture that we have found at those schools. My kids have teachers who have chosen to be there, and they are committed to stay. Swigert has had a 98% teacher retention rate for the last 5 years, and McAuliffe's teacher retention rate is 12% higher than other middle schools in the district. Because our teachers' voices are heard and they are given the freedom to bring creativity into their classrooms, doing what they do best and what they've been hired to do, they have stayed. And for us and my kids, this has meant that the teachers and staff members, know and they truly see my kids. They know them and they see them. Another reason that we love both McAuliffe and Swigert is because they have the International Baccalaureate program, which would be very difficult to maintain without an innovation status. The IB program attracts families, teachers, and staff because of its focus on international mindedness, giving back to the community, and its support and encouragement of teacher voice in its programming. Innovation status has given both Swigert and McAuliffe the freedom to create engaging and relevant curriculum and the calendar flexibility for additional planning days to create content that has really stretched my kids' brains and taken them beyond this small little world they live in. And third reason why we've loved Swigert and McAuliffe is for school-specific supports. Sarah mentioned how innovation status has really allowed for this budget flexibility. And some of the things that I've seen happen specifically at Swigert over the years with that budget flexibility is that they've been able to increase social emotional supports through school psychologist presence. They've implemented anti-bullying and conflict resolution programs. They have provided Orton Gillingham training to all of our teachers, special education specialists, and paras to support the reading and writing at school. And they've increased in intervention supports. What this has meant to me specifically is that all of these measures have provided better support for our teachers, our classroom teachers, and have resulted in exceptional learning experiences for our boys. I believe that DPS School Board's proposal to slowly strip away autonomy from innovation schools that have really used this status for good will cause loyal teachers, staff members, and families to leave. And I do not believe it prioritizes student success. Thank you.
Hello. First, I wanted to thank everyone that is here tonight for making this event a priority and listening to our thoughts and concerns. My name is Yael Shalom. I am a grandchild to a refuge family that fled a war. I am an immigrant, a daughter, a sister, a wife, and most importantly, a mom to the most beautiful and amazing 2 boys. And I'm here to represent my 6-year-old because he cannot advocate for himself and his needs. As a neighborhood parent of DGS student, I can honestly say that I'm confused as to why we are at this point, especially in this not over pandemic. As a voter and a volunteer, we work to get you all elected to be our voice and represent what is important for our children's education. I've known Scott Esserman for many years as a mentor, a friend in faith, and a colleague. And I trust that you are a good listener, and I appreciate that about you. But I have to say, in helping to get you elected, I didn't think we would be fighting for the protection of our schools models just a few months later. The intent of this EL might not be to undermine the essence of our innovation school, but as a parent, it certainly feels that way. My son is in a Mr. Robert kindergarten class. As an educator, Mr. Robert is a passionate teacher that have the skills and ability to give my son everything he needs to blossom and grow as an individual. I cannot thank him enough for all he does to make sure every student will have the most valuable educational path. Mr. Robert said to us recently that innovation saved his teaching career. And I'm so happy he could find a place where he's able to give everything he can to our children. Our teachers are very valuable to us, and we are here to listen to their voices. DGS give my son a safe space to explore and learn to become a better human. DGS offers so much passion and it has so much diversity in culture and religions. It's such a beautiful way of exploring the world. There are so many amazing programs DGS offer, like farm to cafeteria that my son just flourish, different kind of school trips and community activities. DGS is a family, not just a school, with the ability to plan their own educational journey, teach us values, and appreciate everyone that is involved in the school. DGS has been our family. Please don't take this away from my son. He needs it. It feels like we are here today to solve a problem that doesn't exist. It feels like we are playing politics with our schools by doing so with our students. Let's stop playing politics and fight for the future of education and fight for innovation because it works. The hard part for us as parents is to understand why are we forcing our school leaders and teachers to spend so much time away from their family and energy defending their school models when it's proven to be working. We, as parents, are stakeholders too, and the intent of this EL is not matched by its outcomes. Our school model is serving my son and all of our students very well, and teachers are very, very happy. I urge you not to pass it and instead let the schools make the changes they need in our innovation renewal like it should be. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Yael and Amy and Sarah for being here tonight. Yael, I'm so proud and grateful for you and your energy and your time. You gave me chills in listening to your story, and I'm so grateful to you and all of our parents for voicing their advocacy for our innovation schools. Our last group we're going to hear from tonight is our amazing educators, and I'm super grateful for them and their time tonight too. And we're going to kick it off with Holly Eakins from Beach Court Elementary.
Hi, I'm Holly Eakins, a parent, senior team lead, and math interventionist at Beach Court. Working at an innovation school has allowed me to do things differently for students and to create a space that meets the unique needs of my students. I have chosen only to work at DPS innovation schools, McLone Academy for 8 years, and now Beach Court. During my time here in Denver, I chose to work in an innovation school because I believe in different school models designed intentionally with communities to serve students and support educators the way both deserve. Innovation is an agreed upon plan where all stakeholders are heard. This proposed EL is listening to just one voice. It is not valuing or respecting all stakeholders. As a parent, I have chosen to send my child to Beach Court where I work because of its programming and its innovation status. I don't live in Denver, but I choose to send my child to an innovation school that has the programming and the autonomy to meet her individual needs. If this executive limitation passes, I am likely to send my child to a school in my county. Innovation plans are written as a community. Innovation plans don't just happen to teachers in the community. If something is missing, there is an existing process of revisions and renewals where the staff and the community can add in or delete new ideas and waivers. This process has been paused the last few years due to the pandemic. The good news is that all innovation schools will go through a revision and renewal process this school year, or this upcoming school year. I would hope that this process would be honored and not overridden by the board. There are already checks and balances in the existing process to protect teachers, which is why teachers get to vote on the innovation plans. Teachers should be participating in the plan development and making an informed decision when voting. I also feel that if teachers don't like the plan, they should be participating in the school leadership structure, such as in our building, the collaborative leadership team, and working to make revisions to the existing plan and not being passive participants. All teachers have that right. In both schools that I've served, I was given and read the innovation plans when I was going through the interview process, and I aligned to both schools and their plans. I felt that both plans are best for kids. Part of Denver Public Schools and public education should be about designing and allowing programming and models that meet each individual community's needs. In closing, it is not a teacher versus leader versus student situation. Innovation meets the needs of all parties involved. Innovation allows teachers autonomy, provides leaders the flexibility to create amazing, unique schools, and students a place to thrive. Innovation plans honors communities and staff and honors their unique needs. This executive limitation takes away my autonomy and my voice. I'm currently reading Belonging Through a Culture of Dignity by Floyd Cobb and John Crownapple. They highlighted this quote that really stuck out to me last night when thinking about this particular issue of innovation schools. The quote was, "Inclusion is not a strategy to help people fit into the system and structures which exist in society. It's about transforming those systems and structures to make it better for everyone," by Diane Richler. So innovation schools help transform our district systems and structures to make it better for everyone. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Bell. I'm a 7th grade literacy teacher here at Denver Green School Northfield. Let me start by acknowledging that I believe that those who brought forward this proposal are likely doing it with the best intentions. They're trying to help the teaching profession and make teaching more sustainable. However, you may not fully understand some of the impacts and consequences. For example, when you're a school such as Denver Green School, Northfield, you've built these replacement policies to aid in the success of teacher autonomy and a paid curriculum institute. For example, we've waived having an SLT, which means our school doesn't have a principal. Instead, we have a partnership. These policies have been in place for 12 years. These replacement policies, which we won't be able to have, actually serve to promote equity within our school, promote teacher empowerment. It is also in place to support me, an African-American female educator that is on the ascent of my career, to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, and to make a difference. I'm sure it is not their intent to silence my voice, but I need to explain how this proposal will do that. Let me tell you a bit about our school. We have 2 lead partners, Aaron Miller and Cartal Jaquette. I have both of their phone numbers on speed dial, and if there is something I need to improve as a teacher, if I have a question, I can talk to both of these individuals. I have been so supported as a teacher for the first few years that I've applied to the partnership, and now I am a partner in our school. I have a say on things that matter for our school. I have an authentic voice in our system. Let me say that I am not the only leader of color in this partnership. There are 3 of us who have a voice and the opportunity to impact choices made in our school. If this proposal passes, those 3 African Americans that have voices in our school will lose their voice. We'll lose our lead partners. We will be a school with a principal and an SLT. Maybe that's fine, but it is not compared to what we have right now. I have things to say, ways that I want to impact our school positively. I have achieved tremendous results for our students and built my career at this school. With this policy encroaching upon my career, we will lose our flexibility. I urge you to keep replacement policies that support educators like myself in finding their voice.
Hello, my name is Jay Sava. I'm a 2nd grade teacher at Creativity Challenge Community School, C3. I'm the parent of a 9th grader at South High School, and I'm also a DCTA member. I've had the pleasure of working at the district level in DPS as a member of the Imaginarium, what was once the DPS Innovation Lab. I served as an assistant principal at Centennial School, a school for expeditionary learning. I'm happy to have the opportunity to be back in the classroom in a school that honors my experience in education and my story as a teacher. In my 25th year of teaching, I have found my home. Over the course of my career, I've learned that when we know our students well, we can connect contact to their experiences and help them to make deeper connections, igniting the love of learning that we all know is foundational to their education. This is the foundation of culturally responsive practice. In 2008, the Colorado legislature established the Innovation Schools Act, providing schools and districts the opportunity to apply for innovation status. A line in the act that inspires me as a teacher choosing to work in an innovation school is the belief that the delivery of educational services must be tailored to the specific population of students they are intended to serve, and that the parents of those students should have great opportunity for input regarding the educational services that their children receive. The creation of C3 has been an incredible opportunity to co-create a school community focused on truly responsive practices. Executive limitations, or EL 12 and 13, employee treatment and employee compensation, undermine our school's ability to meet the needs of our community. A one-size-fits-all approach goes against the Innovation Schools Act. While EL 12 employee treatment intends to be responding to the need to provide more protections for teachers, in essence, the impact would unravel many innovation school flexibilities. that we use, to create systems and structures that are unique. As a teacher, I feel that I am given the flexibility, the creativity, and the autonomy to keep me learning and growing after 25 years. EL 12 and 13 create a level of bureaucracy that will inhibit our ability to be responsive to the needs of our families, guardians, teachers, and leaders. As we address the specifics of EL 12 employee treatment, I must highlight that the language is written in a way that is concerningly vague. It assumes that any of the collective bargaining requirements that have been ignored or not addressed in a way that is best for teachers. If one were to read the DPS Innovation Guidebook, one might see that innovation schools are required to provide alternatives agreed to by all stakeholders within the school's community for any component that the school needs to write a waiver for. This includes all components of the collaborative bargaining agreement. For example, we've heard reference to a 40-hour work week as part of the EL proposal. And while I would love to work a 40-hour work week, there's not a teacher in the profession that only works a 40-hour work week. It's unrealistic. And it adds a requirement that no school or district could live up to without significant changes to Colorado's approach to school funding. A 40-hour work week for teachers inadvertently removes the support of our classrooms that allows schools to meet the needs of our students. The bucket of funding is limited for all schools, and the ability to be creative with the funds that we have access to allows the school to support students and teachers in a specific way. Rather than requiring the 40-hour work week, address the fact that in Colorado, per pupil funding is ranked among the worst in the nation due to Tabor and other bills that lacked foresight into the growth of our state. Address the fact that I work 4 jobs to make ends meet, but don't take the support from my classroom that allows me to meet my students' needs. The level to which teachers are paid in Colorado is unacceptable, and the needs need to be addressed at the state level, but this is not a problem with innovation. In my innovation school, I am empowered through representation on leadership committees like my school's Innovation Accountability Team, the IAT. I have the opportunity to be part of a hiring committee to work closely with my peers, our parents, and the admin to guide the future of C3. I know that those who represent me on the IAT are looking out for my best interest. However, these structures in my school would no longer exist if this EL is passed, because EL 12 would not allow schools to flexibly create their own leadership structures. I want to thank you for allowing me the time to express my frustration as a DCTA affiliated teacher who's speaking to you truthfully about why the proposed ELs would harm, not protect my teacher rights in my innovation school.
Greetings, my name is Christina Damon, and I proudly represent Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Early College. I am our middle school and high school gifted and talented coordinator, and in addition to building and pioneering our school's first gifted and talented program, I manage a caseload of 160 middle school and high school GT and talent pool students. I also have 3 GT courses, all of which I've created the curriculum for. I am an STL with the STL caseload of 4 teachers, and as of recent, I'm also part-time mild moderate special education teacher with 6 IEPs and 2 push-in classes. DPS is constantly asking, how do we recruit more teachers instead of asking, how do we support and retain teachers? Teachers leave the profession because they feel burnt out, and this happens when our stress overcomes our resources and ability to adequately manage our stress. Despite my multiple roles and extensive list of responsibilities with our innovation calendar, I am able to manage my stress effectively because I am gifted with the one thing I want for the most, which is time. It's because of our built-in comp days and non-student contact days at the end of each quarter and the end of the year that I'm able to complete non-instructional tasks such as creating advanced learning plans, writing 20-page IEPs, entering grades into my gradebook, lesson planning, or simply taking care of my inner world so I can show up for students in a regulated state that is loving, peaceful, and innovative. Kids know when adults in their lives are stressed, and they learn how to regulate their emotions and manage stress by observing us. Students are not spared from the negative influence of teacher burnout, especially our students with neurodiverse needs. According to a scholarly article called Special Education Teacher Burnout, a synthesis of research from 1979 to 2013, students of disengaged or exhausted teachers are frequently disruptive, struggle socially and emotionally, and attain their IEP goals less frequently, all of which impact academic development. With this understanding in place, I have to ask, why is it necessary for me to show up and use my limited and precious time to defend a system that we as teachers advocated for and benefit from? Schools that have chosen innovation status have carefully curated and intentionally designed systems that support the needs of their staff, students, and families. And yet, for no apparent reason, the district seeks to destabilize school communities and dismantle work that has taken years to effectively develop, and it all seems to just be in the service of convenience. The convenience of creating an easy way to align calendars. We should be asking schools that have innovation plans what is working well and how we can replicate some of these practices that are inspired by collaboration and designed for equity. We should be investigating and listening to the voices of passionate teachers, leaders, and students at our innovation schools instead of trying to recreate a traditional model that has not worked in the past. One of my favorite quotes that I tell my students is convenience breeds risk, meaning that when we start to reduce, remove, or take away things all for the sake of simplification or convenience, we overlook safety measures that were put in place to prevent unnecessary risk. Right now, you are risking schools' freedom of autonomy, you're risking teacher burnout, you're risking silencing Black teachers and leaders, and student academic development, all in the name of syncing calendars. I hope you'll carefully consider my testimony as a teacher who, like many other teachers in the district, is operating at 110% of my bandwidth, but continues to enjoy their work and teach students from a place of joy and enthusiasm because I have a calendar that allows for self-care and preparation.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcela Mezquita, and I was born in Colombia. I went to a bilingual multicultural school that shaped the person I am today. I say this because I want to emphasize the importance of an education with a different perspective. I can speak Spanish and English fluently, and thanks to this education, I have been able to meet new people, adapt to a new culture, and share my knowledge by teaching others. I arrived in Denver 7 years ago with the anxiety of what was here for me and high expectations for my family. It was not easy to cut my roots and begin a new life in a country that gave me the opportunity to start again. I have worked at international schools abroad and bilingual schools here in Denver. I am a Hispanic teacher. As an immigrant, it is difficult to have my voice heard, and I have this privilege belonging to an innovation school as Valdez. Teacher voices are heard in this school. I belong to the CSC committee made up of administrators and several teachers, where major decisions are taken. Our voice has been critical to our success over the 10 past years in serving our community and tailoring programs according to our particular needs. One of the things that most impressed me when I visited the school for the first time was that every single teacher and administrator was bilingual, either because they were Hispanic or because they had the passion to learn it. This spoke about the high quality education of each of my colleagues and the quality of education given at this school. After several years of being part of Valdez, I had the privilege of getting to know my coworkers and can attest to their preparation, professionalism, and passion for the school and students. As a fact, I trust the school so much that my daughter Luciana is a happy fourth grader and leaves the school with a smile on her face every day. One of the best ways to know if a school is strong is to ask their teachers if their own kids attend it. In Valdez, teachers are valued and their opinions are heard. Because we are in an innovation school, we have an innovation plan with waivers and replacement policies to support teacher voice and to ensure we protect not just teachers, but all staff. As said by our teachers, true teacher protection and rights comes from trust and understanding, empowerment, and listening to the community you serve. As an immigrant, depending on a visa, feeling safe and protected in my job is crucial to be able to do my best in a positive environment without having the worry of a change that could affect the future of my family and our peace of mind. Being in an innovation school allows me to have the voice to create in collaboration with other teachers our school plans. When you have your place, you are all in. Our innovation school has due process. Valdez supports teachers. We have a grievance procedure, all of which are properly followed when needed. We trust our leaders to support and guide us through our professional growth to continue to serve our kids and the community through our innovation plan. School-based decision-making is essential. You can build that trust from the top down. This plan that we have co-created as a school community provides that protection. We know this because we have knowledgeable, well-versed leaders that guide Valdez towards the school our children and community needs. They built leadership transition into our plan, and when we did have a transition, our teachers had more voice and more to say than the district process. Our plan includes the school-based decision-making in leadership changes and beyond. This is another way our teachers are empowered and protected by innovation. I wonder if all these changes are applied to our unique school, what would become of us? We will become one more school in the district, leaving behind what makes us special. It was said to me once that innovation schools model new ideas and plans that other schools could eventually implement if they are successful to make them efficient. So why try fixing something that is not broken? This is a saying that a lot of people use here, which makes a lot of sense to me now. If this new executive limitation policy proposal for standard teacher rights and protections is passed, what can we expect next in our district? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Marcela, very much. And thank you to all of our incredible educators for sharing your voices tonight and having the courage to be here. We're so grateful for you taking the time when we know you're already working so hard for our students. I wanted to acknowledge that there were lots of comments of support in the chat tonight. There was also some really great questions. Because of the size of the group, we had to disable the chat. But we do want to invite folks to, if you want to continue the conversation, to please talk to your board members and talk to your school leaders to continue this dialogue. And again, I want to thank the entire DPS board who was able to join us tonight. We really greatly appreciate you listening to our voices. And in addition to the board, I also want to thank Senator James Coleman for joining us tonight, along with Senator Hansen. Both have been consistent supporters of innovation. Thank you for coming and listening to these voices tonight too. And as we close out, I wanted to continue the conversation and invite you all on a call to action. What I hope everyone on this call tonight, when I checked, I think we were close to 1,000 at our highest point. What I hope everyone learned tonight is that loud and clear what is working in our innovation schools. I also hope you heard that our concerns with both the process and the content of the EL are great. I think what is evident from the voices you heard tonight is there's a lot of passion for what we do in innovation schools, and they are an important fabric of what we do across DPS. Look, in my 12 years, I have always prided myself on being someone that wants to find a common productive path forward. However, I don't see one with this proposed EL because it has the potential to fundamentally change how we serve our school communities across innovation. And so for those on this call tonight, I urge you to stand with the innovation schools and our communities and let the board know that you do not support the executive limitation and the proposed EL that they're voting for later this month. You can engage with your board by writing them. You can engage with your board by reaching out and telling them how your voice matters and you need to be heard. So there's also a barcode, a QR code that you can scan there tonight to look at a petition, and we'll also be promoting a website shortly. But I wanted to end with just a lot of gratitude for everyone on this call, for all the teachers, the leaders, and the family members who had the courage to come and speak their truth. We greatly appreciate you. And for all those attending, we appreciate your time, your energy, and your interest in this matter because it matters to us. So thank you so much and have a wonderful, wonderful night. Bye-bye.